Hello, everybody. This is Jeanette with Candid Convos with Authors. Today, I have Reggie D with me. He is the author of PTSD, Perseverance Through Severe Dysfunction, Breaking the Curse of Intergenerational Trauma as a Black Man in America. Highly recommend this book, especially if you live in Nashville, because that is where he was born and raised and where this book takes place at. Reggie, thank you for being here today. I really appreciate you sitting down and chatting with me.
Definitely. Thank you for having me, Jeanette.
Yeah. And I will say, I have an embosser that I can put, it says the Library of Jeanette Opheim, and I only put, I stick it on my books that I want to keep in to pass down to my kids one day. And this book got it.
Oh man. Wow.
Right there.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh man.
The stamp of honor. Anyways, so yeah, thanks again for being here. I am really excited to talk with you. Loved your book, and I'm really excited for the people that follow me to hear more about your story. So you consider this a memoir?
Yeah, I consider it a memoir or autobiography. I think is even more appropriate just because I wrote my story. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So my first question for you, before we jump into everything your book is about, is what are you reading at the moment, or are you reading anything good?
Yeah, so right now I'm finishing up A Promised Land by Barack Obama.
Mm-hmm.
And I am also reading What Happened to You with Oprah and Dr. Bruce. I'm going to mess up his last name. But yes, it is phenomenal. And both of those books are phenomenal, but I am really excited about What Happened to You. So I'm about halfway through that one.
So you read multiple books at the same time too?
Sometimes. So not usually. I just been trying to power through A Promised Land. It's been like a year and a half. So it's
a big book. It's a big book. There's a lot there. So, okay. Tell me about your autobiography and how this book came to be.
So yes, Perseverance Through Severe Dysfunction. The title came to me. I was just walking my dog, and I was going through some things mentally where I was in a depressive state, and I was listening to an album called PTSD by one of my favorite authors, Rod Wave. And there's a song PTSD on the and for some reason it spoke to me. I was like, yes, this is it. And then I wanted to find a way to reframe what has always been considered a negative, and turn the acronym into something positive. So that's where Perseverance Through Severe Dysfunction came from. But the content in the book actually started as a journal. And so, like I mentioned, going through a lot of life was happening. My grandmother had been diagnosed with terminal brain cancer. Later turned into she tried to attempt suicide. And I had family members just doing all kind of wonderful, awful things. And I needed a way to decompress at the end of the day. And so what I would do is turn to my phone and my notes and just journal every day from the top of January of 2019 all the way through, when my grandmother, spoiler alert, my grandmother passed away about 6 or 7 months later. And it was everything from, pages long of everything that happened that day, my feelings, my emotions, to some days it was just like, man, F this, right? And I looked at it once she passed away. I had a really triggering event where I had this anxiety attack, and I was lying on the floor and I was crying, and I couldn't make sense of the world or where I was. And that led me to okay, I need to seek even more help. Journaling is great, but I need to do more. And so I then took what I had journaled and put it on my computer, and it was 60 pages. And I was like, whoa, almost there. If I did want to write a book, and that was not my intent going into it. And then I just kept writing because it was therapeutic. It helped me get through a lot of different things. It helped me uncover a lot of things about myself and about my family, my past. And I want to say it helped more than it hurt. And but yeah, I kept writing up to the point of my journal. So everything was color coded. Like if it related to my mom, if it related to my dad, it was a specific color. If it related to a grandparent or somebody else, it was a different color. And in my head, I was saying, I'm right up to the color. I'm right up to the color. And it was every memory, positive, negative, big, small, that I could remember with that specific person. And yeah, after some editing and tweaks and everything else, it became what it is. So
That's amazing. And the book opens with you talking about that panic attack that you had. And then you do talk about your grandmother and her tragic passing as well in the book. So if anyone's interested in reading about that everything Reggie just touched on is in the book. And yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I think something I find so remarkable about our generation is how open we are about our therapy practices and our mental health. And you've encapsulated this vulnerability and growth in perseverance through severe dysfunction through your own personal life story. So what is some advice you have for someone who may be considering publicly sharing a story of equal vulnerability?
I would say first, give yourself grace, because telling my story now, like talking about my grandmother, talking about friends who had passed and all these different things in life, when it initially happened, or the first time getting it out of my mouth, it was a struggle, and I cried through it and it hurt. And it still hurts at times. It's easier the more you tell the story, the more healing you find. So I would say first, give yourself grace. And then second, know that that pain that is coming out is a form of the healing process. It is um it has been so remarkably healing to tell a story to someone and then have them, not in a one up type of way, but resonate and say, well, I have an experience similar to that. And it's like, oh, I'm not going through this alone. And so that helps with my healing process. And I know it's helped with a lot of other people's. And then third, I would probably say, um, recognize, I mean, it's kind of piggybacking off of number two, but recognize that your story will help somebody else, regardless of what you've gone through. Likely there's somebody out there who has experienced something similar, if not the exact same thing. And hearing that they're not alone, that they aren't bad, wrong, you know, anything like that for that experience will help somebody.
It's funny you say that because my next question was essentially, I know your story resonates with a lot of people. So what have you heard or how has it resonated with you essentially to hear that your story's affected other people? But you've pretty much just touched on that. So you
Yeah.
tapped into my brain there.
No, I guess if I was gonna go even more specifically into it, I've been so one thing I did in the book, like when I my first draft of the book was very much just my story with nothing else added to it. But then looking back and working with editors, there was this connection with a larger population, right? Like I was born to a 14-year-old mother in 1991, but looking at the statistics of teen pregnancy at that time, and it's like, whoa, at that time, it was the highest that it's ever been in history in our country. And then, all these other different areas of society that I was experiencing, thinking I was the only person going through it, but no, like looking at stats and putting, real evidence behind those stories is what really helped it connect to a larger population. And I was so surprised to see, folks who didn't grow up as a young black man, older white women, Chinese men, like whatever it may be, like found some point of a point to resonate with throughout the book, which is amazing. It speaks to the human element that connects us all.
Absolutely. I've told a few people when I've mentioned your book that it is super relatable, even if you aren't a black man going through what you went through and walked through in your shoes. And I think I mentioned this to you, like I was diagnosed with PTSD recently and for completely different circumstances, but there's just so much you speak to that I relate to. And yeah, it's just, it kind of shows that there's just a lot of human connection out there. If we share our stories, um, there's more common ground than we're aware of. I mean, even how
Absolutely.
unique our stories are, we can come together.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Let me see, because we definitely just talked about my question that I had written out for you. So, and you kind of touched on this too, that as you share your story, it hurts less and less, or it's not as difficult to speak to. But I do know that speaking to your story, you are talking about a lot of difficult things that have happened in your life. So how do you practice self-care during times where you are heavily promoting your book and routinely sharing your story?
Yeah. Um, I am big on mental health days. In fact, today is a mental health day for me. Um, I just when I woke up feeling sick, and also just the thoughts in my mind aren't happy right now. And that's in full transparency. Like I can smile on this podcast or smile on this and do all those things, but I don't feel good right now. And so I give myself mental health days where I take a break from everything. I think, PTO and all those things that people avoid using for I don't even know what reasons, but like I embrace all of that. Like I take it all. And so that's one thing. Like I'll see these trends in my calendar where it's like booked up, booked up, booked up, booked up. And then there's like a blank week where I do absolutely nothing. And I need those things. I need those to recover. I need those when triggering events come up and I'm not feeling up to doing much. And I try to focus on a lot of sleep. I do yoga and meditate. Um, talk whether to a professional therapist or to someone I trust and let it all out. Let whatever the feeling is, that anxiety or that thought that's just there, I try to let it out. Like just now before I got on here, my wife called me and I was like, yeah, I'm feeling a little depressed today. And that just felt good. It made me feel a little better just saying that alone. And so those are some of the things that I do. And yeah, I got to get outside, walk and see the sun and yeah, all that. So
I don't know if it's like where you are, but it's raining right here right now. It's been a gross day.
no, yeah, no rain yet, but the sky is cloudy. So
Yes. Um, I I mean, I think it's important just to talk about mental health, but especially for Black people to talk about mental health and really invest in it and not make it such a taboo subject. Um, I just really admire you for being a champion of that and speaking up to, you know, that area of life that is absolutely necessary.
thank you. I appreciate that, and I also admire you as well. I mean, you disclosed. I don't know if this was the first time, but you have PTSD as well, and so that takes courage. And
That actually is the first time I've talked about it, I guess publicly. I went in, I thought I was getting diagnosed for ADHD last summer because I suspected I had it. So I went in to get diagnosed with it and I got diagnosed with PTSD in addition to ADHD. And I wasn't expecting that. And I was like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
cool.
all the letters, right?
I know. I'm like, I don't have any doctor letters to put after my name, but I do have a lot of mental health letters.
Right.
um,
And I think when we share those stories and share that, like we will realize that again, we have so much more in common than we don't. And that is a part of life, I have a torn Achilles. I know there are people out there with torn Achilles, just like there are people who experience trauma and repeatedly experience that trauma. So yeah.
Absolutely. Even, and I've told you this, talking to my sister-in-law who works as a social worker, just like hearing the stories she shared with me that I've related back to your book. And my brain's already thinking like, how can Reggie speak to her students and all this stuff? But I mean, it's just constant human connection and constant sharing of stories. I think that will help us all feel less alone, especially in the wake of all the heavy news that's been going on. I
Yeah.
just think it's really important to keep talking and keep letting each other know we're here for one another and we're not alone.
Yeah. And I think in addition to helping people feel less alone, it also helps build compassion and empathy. You know, there are people who I've known for 20 years who didn't know me until reading parts of the book, and were their eyes were open to a whole new perspective of who I was and what I had been through. And while I was terrified to release the book early on, um, I felt that the people who loved me even deeper
Mhm.
because they got to know me even more. And
Mhm.
so I think if we again do that on a broader level, people will come together and recognize, okay, I didn't walk in your shoes, but I can, see a little bit of that, and I empathize with that. And so, I think it helps with a lot of aspects of life.
Mhm. I love that. That's so true. So, last question. I always close out with this one. Finish the sentence. You know you're an author when.
Ooh, you know you're an author when you have a story to tell and you can't sleep until the words are out.
I love that. That is so true. And that's the epitome of passion right there. Just
Yeah.
until it's out of your brain.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right. Well, for those who are watching, how can they reach you? How can they follow you? If you want to share that with them.
Definitely. So website is reggieDford.com. I'm also Reggie D Ford on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Um, I think that is it. And then you can get the book on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Walmart, wherever you like to buy your books. If you want to go support a local bookstore, do that. If they don't have it on the shelves, they will order it for you.
And
And that
bookshop.org too. They have it on there too, if anyone's a
definitely.
fan of that platform.
And then also the audiobook, which I read, and it was a challenge, but it is also available on all platforms as well.
Yes, it's your voice narrating it, right?
It is. Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'll include all of those links to all of your social handles when I put this all together. So that'll be easy for people to pop over and find you. So thank you, Reggie. I really appreciate you taking a break out of your mental health day to talk to me. I hope you continue to enjoy it and center yourself and keep yourself at the focus of the day and feel better.
Definitely.
Anything else you wanted to say before we close out?
Now, I was going to say this was a highlight of my mental health day. So I'm glad we got to do this. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for watching Candid Convos with Candid. Man, I just butchered that. Thanks everyone for watching Candid Convos with Authors. I'm Jeanette. This is Reggie. Thank you for watching. Bye.